My name is Dave Farrow. I'm a two-time and current Guinness record holder for memory and founder of Farrow Communications. Join me as I teach the secrets to PR, marketing, and business that help me become an international best-selling author with millions in sales. I promise you'll learn something, and maybe we'll have some fun along the way.
Province Wide continues. Here again is Diane Verneal.
Dave Farrow wasn't exactly a model student. Coping with ADHD and dyslexia, as a Kitchener teen, he struggled until developing a technique which greatly improved his memory and focus. Today, he heads an instructional memory training program. Here he is a few years ago on Regis and Kelly demonstrating his mind prowess after memorizing an entire deck of cards.
King of clubs, the 10 of spades.
Oh my God, this guy's running out of money.
The 9 of hearts, the 3 of spades, and the 4 of hearts. And then, thank you very much.
Wow, pretty darn good.
Well, how does he do it? Dave Farrow, the memory guy, is here to share his memory techniques with us. Dave, you made it into the record books by memorizing a lot of playing cards. How many?
3,068 cards in total, but who's counting? No. And it's 59 decks of cards. It represents the most difficult feat of memory in the Guinness Book of Records.
And here they are here. You brought them along. What I'd like to know is, why is it when I meet somebody, 4 seconds later, I cannot remember their name? And a lot of people have that problem. Why do we forget so easily?
Most of the time it's because we're self-conscious. We're thinking about what we're going to say. We're self-conscious about what we're wearing. There's been a bunch of studies on this, that we're paying attention to things other than the name. You know, just focusing on the name and asking yourself what was their name, kind of quizzing yourself, that can do a lot to improve your memory for names alone.
Well, you went ahead and developed a technique. I'm going to get you to demonstrate it in just a moment. But you had some problems when you were in high school. You almost dropped out because you had trouble focusing.
I grew up in this area, as you know, and I was diagnosed with clinical ADHD and dyslexia, and I found that the system, it's a lot better now, but the system simply didn't really solve these problems, didn't really adequately affect it for me. So I became obsessed with memory and neuroscience and things like that to try to solve this problem myself. And I ended up making my own system. Now it's a neuroscience theory in and of itself called memory modalities. That we do studies, just finished a study at McGill University. So it's amazing how, how we can turn sometimes lemons into lemonade.
Okay, tell me how this technique works.
Absolutely, Dan. It's actually really common sense when you think about it, but a lot of people don't think about their memories. When you really think about what is easy to remember, if you really ask yourself, things like, a movie or a story or a joke or something would pop into your mind, but formulas, names and faces, things like that tend to not stick in our minds. So,
how do I remember names then?
Well, our brains are very selective, so names in their present form are very difficult for your brain to remember. If you can turn it into something that you can visualize, like a costume, it's called the costume party technique. It's a very simple way to remember names. So, for example, my last name is Farrow, so I get people to remember my name by putting on a silly hat. See if you're going to forget this. All right?
Okay.
And it's silly, but I've had people call me up as much as 4 years later looking for the Farrow memory guy. And
because they remember the hat.
Yeah, I could wear it for 2 seconds. I can put it away, and it'll still stick in your mind, because what it does is it wakes up a part of your hippocampus. It wakes up a part of your brain that is in charge of memory, and it's actually that simple. It's actually incredibly easier than people think it is.
Now, you've given yourself a bedhead there, so good. Pat yourself down a little bit. Now, I've got a deck of cards here. You've memorized these cards?
Yeah. Now, this is a quick demonstration. On the way here, I memorized a deck of cards, and you can ask me any number between 1 and 52. I'll tell you what card it is, that sort of thing.
Okay, I'm going to turn these up one by one, but I'm not going to turn them up
First
until
one's the Ace of Spades.
All right, well, that's easy. Okay, what's next?
The next one is the 4 of Spades, then the Jack of Hearts,
right.
Then the 10 of Clubs, the 2 of Hearts.
Okay, we're going to stop now. I'm going to put these back. I want this to be a little harder for you.
Okay.
I'm just going to randomly go into the deck here.
Oh, this is the tough way.
And show you where, okay, so we're
Ace of Hearts.
So here at the Ace of Hearts, I want you to tell me what the next card is after this.
This is a tougher way to do it, Dan. This is good. That should be the 6 of Clubs, if I've got it right.
You are
right?
correct. Yeah,
awesome,
there you go.
awesome.
How do you do that?
And after that is the Jack of Diamonds.
And you're correct about that. How did you do that?
The way I do it, now, memory experts like myself, we use a series of codes and kind of like playing little mental games to turn something that's difficult to memorize, like a deck of cards, or formulas, or speeches, or everything that you want to memorize for school and work, and we turn it into something that I can play around with in my head. So eventually, basically, I've made a story out of these cards. So when I'm focusing, I'm moving between scenes in this story, and I move to the scene where I know that card is, and if there's a certain character in that scene, well, then that's the card I'm looking for.
But if you have to create a narrative around all of these cards, that's a really long, big story, isn't it?
You know, actually, there's codes to make it easier. There's actually a form of human encryption that we've developed to actually take, like all these decks of cards, I was able to memorize them 5 at a time, where 5 cards would mean one thing to my brain, and then that is kind of a way to encrypt data in your own head, if you can get around that for a moment. We're borrowing from the computer guys. But the point is that it can't be taught in a few minutes, but it's a very sophisticated method. Kids pick up on it really well because it uses your imagination. Adults, it's a fun game to play, and you get amazing results. People walk around and they treat you like you're a genius because you're the sponge for information.
Who's hiring you? Who wants to know about this information?
I have worked for Fortune 500 companies, everything from Sony, Bristol-Myers Squibb, Bombardier, Bell, you name them, Bank of America, Bank of Montreal, a lot of the banks, and a lot of salespeople. I do a lot of work with real estate salespeople as well. The simple fact is, if you know more about your industry, you know more about your product, or you know more about the people you work with, then you are going to excel in your line of work.
Now, you've got an upcoming event for people who want to see you?
Yes, the CARP event. We did this great work with CARP. It's a great organization. Members get to go for free. They get to learn these amazing memory techniques.
Okay, this event is taking place on May 14th at 7 p.m. at St. George's Hall in Waterloo. And if you'd like tickets or more information, call 226-989-0001. Dave Farrow, great seeing you again. Thanks very much.
Thanks for having me back on.